Hi, my name is Terry Lee, and in this tutorial, we're going to use Microsoft Publisher to resize junk journal kit elements to match the size of the journal that you're working on. Now, there's a couple other videos that I've made that you can use as reference as well in conjunction with this one. One of them is purchasing and downloading items from Etsy. The other one is resizing A4 kits. That's the whole thing, pages and all, down to where you can print them on 8.5 by 11. And the other one is organizing your digital files on your computer to make it easier for you to find them. Okay, so now for this tutorial, you're going to need a computer and a printer. You're going to need Microsoft Office, including Publisher. This is the program that I like to use. It's easy to kind of maneuver easily around with images and do basic things because this program is mainly for brochures and flyers and newsletters and things like that. And so you can insert things and move them around very easily. Now, you can get this as a subscription for only $7 a month instead of buying it for $250, so don't panic. And Office includes everything. So it includes Word, Excel, Access, and the best thing is it includes OneDrive, which allows you to access your files all across all of your items or gadgets. So all you have to do is install OneDrive on your phone. You can access your files that are on your computer from your phone, so you can access them from anywhere, backs them all up on the cloud. I'm not trying to sell this to you. I'm just telling you that for $7 a month, just Publisher alone will pay for itself, and you'll be so much happier being able to do all this exactly the way I'm showing you all by yourself. Right? You're going to need some basic computer skills. You're going to need to know how to open and close a program, open a new file, open and close a file, click left click, right click, those kind of basic things. Now, when you get the PDF for this, which I'm uploading this on the 28th of September of 2020, if you're looking at this more than 4 or 5 days after this date, then the PDF will already be up. And the PDF is only for members of the Sweet Pea Papers and Friends Fuss, Fuss, Facebook group. And there'll be a link below the video here that shows you the URL you can go to sign up for that. Every video that I do usually has some sort of bonus that's available for the members only. So you might want to think about doing that. Of course, it's free. So when you get the PDF, and you see this little icon, these little things here, which looks like an arrow, that means and then click. So if I say click on this and then click on that in the video, you will see that written in the PDF as click on blank, whatever it is, the picture, and then click, and that will be represented by this little arrow so I don't have to type out and then click over and over again. Okay? When you hear me say in the video, hold a key on your keyboard like the control key, and then click your mouse key at the same time, or hold the control key and then click your left mouse key, then you'll see the little plus sign. All right, so that means this key plus that key, or this key plus your mouse key, whichever it is that I'm talking about, okay? And then for those of you that are not in the United States, I'm using LT as an abbreviation for left and RT as an abbreviation for right. I'm not sure if that's universal, so I'm just throwing it in there just in case. All right, so you got all that? Okay, so now let's go as if you were opening a publisher without having a file open. So this is not the screen that you will see. You're going to see my computer take a long time. Hey, this is a spoiler alert. I'm getting a new computer on Wednesday. So hopefully these types of things will not happen. Okay, so now when you open Publisher for the first time, this is the screen you're going to see. Now what you're going to want to do is you're going to have new, you're going to want a new blank 11 by 8.5, not 8.5 by 11, 11 by 8.5, which is basically landscape view. So you just click on that. When I say click, I mean left click with the mouse, and it should open a new one, and that will be blank, and it will be showing up. I'm having a day today, I'm telling you right now. So bad jokes are going to be flying left and right. All right, so here's a blank document. Now, like I said, this is made for newsletters, and in the other video on resizing your kits from A4 or A5 down to the 8.5 by 11, you use more than one page. And if you're going to do multiple files from one kit, as in like maybe the page with the tags and the page with the pockets and whatever, then this is going to be helpful to you as well. Over here on the left, you'll see that that shows page 1, and we'll get into adding another page in a minute. So what we want to do first is we want to adjust the margins out to a wider picture. So we're going to go on page design, and we're going to go margins. When I say and we're going to go, that means you and I are going to click on this. And then we're going to go narrow. Now you'll see this is much narrower, and your screen, your usable space is larger. Make sure that the 1/4 of an inch border works with your printer before you do that. Now, when you first start up Publisher, which you didn't see because I already had it open, so it didn't take so long on the computer, is it will talk to your printer. In other words, you have to wait a second while it's opening before the actual, that welcome screen that I showed you will open, because it's going to determine what your default printer is. So it should know ahead of time whether you can do this border or not, or this margin or not. But I'm just saying, if you know off the top of your head, then you're better off than just trusting the computer. Trust me. Okay, so now you've got these borders, and I want to show you a couple other things first. On the left over here is your vertical ruler, so that's how tall everything is. Then this is your horizontal ruler, and that shows you how wide everything is. And I'm going to show you a kind of a quirk about this in a minute. You can move these if you hold the shift key down, click your left mouse button, and drag it down. So you can move it down. When you let go of both keys, it stays where you put it. It has to be on that, your arrow has to turn into that little icon that looks like two lines and an up and down arrow, because that represents the ruler and moving it up and down. So I'm going to click on the shift key and move it back. And you can do the same thing with the vertical guide, okay? But what we're going to do right now is we're going to click on guides, and we're going to click on horizontal ruler guide, and that puts one on the page in the center, and you'll see the same little icon shows up because we can move it up and down the page. And we're going to use this to line up our duplicates that we're going to make so that they're straight across, and that way when you go to cut it with your paper trimmer, then you can just go straight across in one fell swoop. Yay! Okay, so what we want to do first is we want to insert the picture that we want to resize. So we go to Insert, and then Pictures, and then this is where your basic computer skills are going to come in handy, because this is going to open Window Explorer. And we're going to want to go to the folder that has the file in it that you're going to want to open, or the picture that you want to insert. And we don't want to do my Bing images of the day, even though this is a really neat thing and it puts a different photograph on my desktop every day as my desktop picture. Yes, it does. All right. So, oops. I'm going to go up here, and I'm going to go to Etsy. Now, I am not going to give you this exact file with the examples in it. The reason being that I'm going to be using some images from Victoria Design. And obviously, now the reason this says all, and I'm not going into each one of the kits, If you watch the video on organizing your files, you'll see how I did this and how I ended up with all of the image files from all of my kits all in one folder. And that way is much, much better. Oops, let me go to File Embellishments. I went too far again. Here we go, File Folder Embellishments. And I'm going to go up one more. Yep, that's the example I used. This looks, you can see the bigger version of it over here, so you can see that it's really the one you want. This one looks like 4 little pieces of parchment paper. And this is the size, wasting all of the paper around it, that it would print out if we just left it as it is. Now, I'm going to be making a little book, which is going to be our next tutorial that's going to be posted. And so I want to make some little pages to go in my little book. So I'm going to fold these in half. So what I want to do is I want to move this. You see that guideline turned light or dark blue, and that one turned dark blue. That means I've cornered it right there in the corner of our margins, our light blue margin line. Now, when we go to resize this, you're going to want to move your cursor to this little bottom circle, and you see the arrow turns diagonal. You're going to left click your mouse key and hold it down, and then drag it up to resize it where you want, what size you want. Now, let me tell you, this is the quirk I wanted to tell you about. The ruler over here, you'll see there are no marks on it. And that's because it shows you the position of the cursor, not how big the image is. It's easy to figure out how big the image is because you just put your cursor at the bottom and then you look over to the left at the same time. So I can't point out both to you. So I'm going to trust that you're going to look left on the ruler. And you will see that it's 5 inches tall, and you will see up here it's 4 inches wide. Now that's actually a little bit bigger than I want to go. So I'm going to go, I want it to be, I'm going to divide it, fold it in half. Oh, so actually 4 is what I wanted, actually 4.5 to get 2 1/4. So I want mine to be 4.5. That's a little big for this demonstration. So I'm going to go ahead and make it, but I just wanted to show you how you can see how big you're making things. You just put your cursor over the line. That's the border of the image. Now remember, this is what's called a JPEG. So even though the picture is only this big, the actual full picture or the image is only that big. The actual picture is the size of the borders because JPEG files have a white background. Now, if you're using a PNG file, lucky you, because it has a transparent background. And so that means that you can overlap your pictures and it won't mess anything up because they have transparent backgrounds and not white backgrounds. Okay, so I'm going to make this smaller just for the purposes of demonstration of having some small enough that we can put quite a few on the page. So now we've got one tiny little set of notebook pages. So if we right click, all right, first let's click away. Okay, now it's just sitting there. You're going to want to click once on it to select the image if it's not already still selected. Right click and select copy. Move your cursor away and left click once to deselect it. Right click and select paste. And look, you have another one and it's the same small size. So you're going to want to move it up here next to this one. This is where your horizontal ruler comes in handy. Put it right up against the bottom of that one. And then when you move this one, you can see if the little bottom is lined up with the line as well. And now you'll notice there's a little bit of an overlap of these 2 white spaces and it's encroaching upon the edge of that notebook paper. You'll see you can't see all of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the arrow keys on your keyboard and we're going to use the right arrow key and we're going to hit it a few times. If you hold it down, it'll just keep going. So now let's go back to the left. And you see where the Victoria design files all have a little on the border, it has their name. And so you can tell where the edge of that white is. So that's kind of handy on this. And then so you're going to click away. Now, instead of doing that over and over and over and over and over again, we're going to left click this one. We're going to hold down the control key on your keyboard, left click this one, then right click and select copy, click away, right click and select paste. And now we've pasted two and they'll move together. So we can move them up there as long as they're selected and you see that line turned red. That means everything's all lined up. Now, you'll notice the size I selected is a little bit too big to fit 4 onto a page. So what we want to do is probably delete these. Just use the delete key. And let's resize. Well, delete that one too. So we know our size is too big. So let's make it a smidge smaller just for this because we want to try to get 4 in. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing. Copy, paste, move it up here. This is going to give you some good practice. Control, click, right click, copy, right click, paste. Now we have 4 again. We can move it up here into place. Having a little trouble lining it up. Okay, and now we can just use our arrow key and move it over just a smidge, not enough to overlap, but that brings us, even though the picture itself is off the page, remember that's all just white border anyway. So if you click away, you'll see that the brown part, which is our actual image, is inside the margin. So that's okay. It's the same thing on this side. All right, so now we're going to click 1, hold down the control key, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to right click and select copy. And now we're going to right click and select paste. And now we've got all 4. And we can move them over and move them down. Oops. And now they're all lined up together. And let's move them over just a little bit. This one looks like it's off by a little bit, doesn't it? These two, because you can see they're a little bit lower. Let's click once away to deselect them, and let's hit Control on this one, and let's just kind of nudge them up a little bit. So that means it's going to be the same way up here. So let's Control, click on both of those, and let's move them up just a little bit to line them up. Now, I'm wondering if we need to, this is a good thing. All right, if you hold down your control key and then push the A button or the A key, it will select all of them. Control A means select all. And let's just move them all down to make sure that there's our border right there. Okay, now we know for sure everybody's lined up, everybody's all together, and everybody's ready to print. And that's it. That's all you have to do. Now, let's say you want to add in another page because you're going to do some more, or let's say you don't want 8 of the same one. Now, this is going to come in handy for me because, well, I won't have this many. I'll only have 6, but that'll give me 12 pages to print out for my little book, which will give me 48 pages. Wow, that's a lot to write on in my little book. All right, so now to add a new page so that we can keep going, and or you can just click save this if you want to use it again. Okay, I'm assuming you know how to save a file, so you're just going to click file and then save. Oh, let me show you in Publisher. It's a little bit different. Then click Browse. And then like we did when we selected the folder, select a folder that you want to save this document to. Oops, go up here. See, I'm thinking ahead. All right, I'm just going to save this. You would rename it. Just click once on the name. It doesn't matter if you don't leave the .pub on the end for publisher. That means you're only going to be able to open this again if you have publisher on a side note. Okay. Now I'm just going to leave it as publication 2 because no, I'm not. I'm going to call it note pages. Because I can use this one later myself. Right? So it's going to save it, and now we're back here. Now, that means we cannot go back. I'll show you here in just a second. Let's insert, and then a new page, and it'll show up here, and then you'll see the new page has been added here. Now let's insert some pictures, and let's say we want to insert 2 pictures. Let's say this one, because these are going to be too big. Those pockets are going to be too big. And let's do these little labels, because those are probably going to be too big as well. So you can insert more than one picture at once. So click Insert, and it's going to insert both, and you're going to think, oh no, but that's actually okay that they're little bitty, because now we can resize them whatever size we want. Left click once away from them so they're not both selected at the same time. Left click and hold it down. Drag this little guy over here. Resize him. So you can see where I'm going with this. Resize him. Let's say you want several of these. Okay, and we're going to right click. We're going to copy. Right click and paste. There's another one. Okay. Right click and paste. And here's the third one. All right. Now drag this one over. Now this way it really saves you some paper, because you don't have to print out a whole page of something if you don't want to. So we're going to resize this. We probably only want 2 to a page on this one because we don't want the pockets to be super tiny. And you want to drag them from the corner so that you don't distort them, because that keeps what's called the aspect ratio, which means the height to the width, the same. Let me show you. If I just dragged it like this to resize it, now look, watch the picture. Do you see how it stretched it out? We don't want to do that. So this is where I wanted to show you this. If you make a mistake, just click the go back button, and you can go back as many times as you want until you save it. Once you save it, you can only go back as many times as you've made changes since your last save. So now I could go back all the way back to insert page, because that was the first thing I did after we saved it. Okay. So now I'm going to right click, and I'm going to copy it. I'm going to right click, and I'm going to paste it. And I think I should have enough room for 2. Yep, it looks like I do. We've got all of our tabs are inside the borders. All of our little labels are inside the border. Remember, it doesn't matter if the white part of the white edge of the paper, or of the image, excuse me, goes over the border, as long as our actual image doesn't go over the border. Okay, so now you're good to go. See, that one's even quicker now that you know what you're doing. So now you know how to resize your images, you know how to add a page, you know how to insert a picture, you know how to put in the guide, you know how to resize the margins, and you know how to save your file so that you can open it later and do more to it. You can add more pages. Let's say these were all from the same kit, and I wanted to resize all of the ephemera from a kit. Then do one picture from your ephemera, or a multiple picture page like this of ephemera, and then add a page, and then open some more pictures of ephemera from that same kit. and do that until you've got all of them resized down to the size of the project that you need for the project that you're making. Okay? That's it. That's easy as pie, and you're good to go. And of course, be sure if you have any questions to either ask them in the group once I've posted the video, obviously, because you won't have seen this to have any questions until I post the video. I need more coffee. And you can also ask questions on YouTube in the comment section. Okay? Well, this is me saying goodbye, and I'll see you in the next video. And that'll be a second for you and a day for me. Bye-bye.